भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहैः। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Today we will be concluding the second chapter of this Mandukya Upanishad, Karika. So, before I enter into this last 132nd sutras that I am looking at, right up to 37th sutra, that's the end of it, 38th sutra. So, before I go into that sutra, the concept that is given is that Taittiriya Upanishad, the way he puts it, that one consciousness that is there, and that became Brahman, and that became two. And that two is, one is called as Annavan, Annado Bhavati, that means to say it's the food, and the hunger. Hunger will take the food. So they are mutually connected with that. So the moment that they join together, the happiness experience, the joy experience that you have is Brahmic experience. So Brahman is that which is the center. These two are the things which are two means to provide contact with that Brahman. That is the simple idea that Taittiriya Upanishad works on. The way that I understand Taittiriya Upanishad, Annavan Annado Bhavati, it is not just the food, but it is the object outside and the desire inside, and the sensory organ inside. And this is, when you bring these two things, the joy that you get is the bhavana. The bhava created that. So that's why when two objects come together, that we have that bhava, or because of the bhava that we come into contact with two objects. So this bhava is the most important aspect of the things. Beyond the level of intellect, etc., all those things, bhava is something which is belong to divinity. So therefore, that means, say, once this bhava is there, then you have that experience. In Yoga Vasishtha also suggests that hold on to that bhava of fullness, satisfaction, completeness, Brahmistiti, then leave the object behind. So, Saushuptim bhajati sthitim, you are in the Sushupti state, the bhajata sthiti, that's what is Sushupti state. So, Jagrata, Swapna, Sushupti, the total satisfaction that is there. If you are able to be in that, that's what is a Brahman. It is called as the Turiya. Now, what happens is that in that state, both this subject and object will be completely dissolved. That means to say the experiencer and the experienced dissolve, and only experience remains. In the experience, these two merge. Like the way some of the places that example is given, that we say, I see the river, I go to the river. A river is not the banks actually. A river is something which is flowing in between. But then we go to the bank and say that this is the river. But river is there something in between. So we know about, I'm experiencing, I is there, just one side of the river. And the other side of the river is supposed to be the world. And then the river is that experience of Brahman that is there in between that we get. So these two means to say that when the perceiver and perceived, both these things dissolve into perception. And that is why Brahman is supposed to be Satchitananda. Sat. Sat is existence itself. So one or other, Chit is again say, like the way that the river is there. That's what is the idea of Chit. Ananda is that experience that we have. So it is that one thing which has become many. Now, this separation at the human level, one thing is what is called as the jiva, and within jiva, that these two things that happen, one is the wakeful experience, that is what is called as Vaishvanara, and the wakeful world, the world and the wakeful experiencer. We are in the world of experience of wakeful state. So this is what is Vaishvanara. The same way that it can become like the Swapna world and then Swapna experiencer. Swapna experience or Swapna. One who sees the dream and the dream world that is created, both these things are like the way that the duality that is created. The same way deep sleep state, dreamless sleep state, and the experience which is not seen outside is something which is also there, the third one. The same consciousness become all these three, and you are that consciousness because all these three things are your experiences. That's why it says that yourness is where Jagrata, Swapna, Sushupti, all these things are silence. And when it's silence, it is what is the Turiya, the fourth state. And very aptly that has been represented by the Om. Like a very, let us take it in a very simple way, saying that we give a name to everything. An object, we give a name. The same way that an object called as the world as an object, we give a word, we give a mm, name to that is something ah. Similarly, the one who experiences is also ah. So that is what is the Vaishvanara. Similarly, Taijasa is called as U, and that's what is the dream experience. And Makara is the deep sleep experience. When all these three things, and there is a reason why he said that is, Akara is the base of the whole creation, whatever the words that are there. Whatever the object that are there, the moment that the object has a name, the name belongs to the words. The basis of it is Akara. Akara, Ugamasthana, that's the starting point. So like that, we say that everything belongs to that A. Therefore, it is called as the wakeful state. U is representing the dream state, and then the dreamless sleep state is supposed to be Makara, and then that merges into silence. So you can't find any better expression other than Aum merging into silence. Technically, this structurally also that when all the words are within Aum, the moment that you join Aum, that means you are covering all that expression that is in the form of words, in the form of speech, both in terms of the object, in terms of activity. Everything is merged into that and merged into silence. That silence is what is original, from where everything has come. So therefore, that you are that Turiya Sthiti, and that Turiya is that silence, the fourth state, where all these things merge. So now, when it came back into the, so therefore, what happens is that from that silence, making into the wakeful state and all those things, is the way creation takes place. And Brahmic sthiti, a dissolution takes place when these things go back to that silence. So this is how creation and the dissolution are the sadhana is to see that we have already come to this creation. So therefore we go back to the self is what is the sadhana. So this is the simple idea that Mandukya Upanishad helps us to understand or relate the wakeful dream deep sleep state into the Omkara. Now, there is another very important aspect that why he has given that is that there is, manifest world is there, but we know clearly behind that there is an manifest but unexpressed world. Like I have a thought to make something and then I create whatever that object that I make out of that thought. Whether it's success or not, how much it comes, it's all different. But only thing is that I try to give a manifestation of that. And that only thought level, if you look at it, where we have in our experience, is the dream. Dream is just a thought. Dream does not have actual reality of the way that the wakeful state has. That means thought has the reality, but it does not have an expression. So therefore, it has a reality, but expression is not there. Same way, Sukshma is that which has a reality, but the expression is not there. And what is the way that experiences that, like in a seed, the whole tree is there. But in what form the tree is there, you cut open the seed and try to see, you don't see the tree there. So that means basically that it is in the subtle form. Like the way in the seed, a subtle form exists, like the way that in your own thought is a subtle form of actual manifestation that comes out of it. Like that, the creation also, when you take the whole creation, then U is that subtle form, gives rise to Akara, which is supposed to be the gross form. Vaishvanara, Tejasa. And then there is another place where everything is in the seedal form, completely closed down. And that's what is basically the Karanasthana. And that's what is Makara. And then all these things come from the same source, which is supposed to be consciousness. Now, what happens is that you can create the whole extraordinary world in front of you. But the moment that you wake up from the dream, the dreamer also dissolved, but the dream world is also dissolved. You can't say that, you created such a sophisticated dream world. All right, let dreamer not be there, but let us continue with the dream world. After all, why do you dissolve that? You don't dissolve it. Both these things dissolve. The moment that you get hold on to the experience that the dreamer and the dream world, both these things get dissolved. And that experience dissolution is what is that yourself. But if you cannot dissolve that dream world when you wake up, then you're still haunted by the dream world. And that's why people have a horror dream and then they get up, they say, oh, it's horrible. I don't want to go sleep. Again, the dream comes as if it is still there. So therefore, then dissolve this thing because it's only the dream world. Like the way that we have dissolved the dream world to get out of that dream world, the same way, the wakeful state is also something which is longer period than the dream world. Dream world is for few hours. The wakeful state is like that. In fact, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna one place says that how many generations have passed on this earth, how many people have come, how many things have done. For tons of years that the whole thing has happened. Is there any trace of anything? No trace at all that we have done such great work, such wonderful work. In fact, there are moments where this whole earth itself is gone. Why earth? The sun itself will be dissolved. Where is the question of any image that is there left behind? So what we think is, it's only just you need to do it, but not that it has any permanency. Permanency is not there. So therefore, that's what it says, that the idea of permanency itself is something which is not really tangible. So therefore, it says that in the 31st sutra, he says that Swapna Maya Yate Drishte Gandharva Nagaram Yatha Tatha Vishwamidam Drishtam Vedanteshu Vichakshana. This, in fact, when you look at your own life itself, you see that there were certain things which were there in the way when we were children. As we move ahead, all those things are gone, finished. Now they don't even leave a trace with you. You have forgotten. How many times that we played with the marbles, we played with all kinds of things. Where is that? No account of it. How many times you won it, how many times you lose? Nothing is there. And you outgrow that. Like the way that we outgrow the childhood days, and some people don't outgrow, they still remain as children. Leave apart that those people, let's not worry about them. But in general, sane people will come outgrow that. We laugh at our own performance. We laugh at our own worries at that time we had. And later on, when we adolescents, we grow. So you must say adult also that we grow. This is something that we see in the life that is happening all the time. The most important component of this particular world is the movement. It has movement. And in the moment, what happens is that experiencer and experience, both these things get dissolved. The child gets dissolved along with that, the childhood activities that we were doing it. An adolescent gets dissolved the moment that and their activities also dissolve, the moment I outgrow that. So this way, that outgrowing is the way that the movement takes place. That is what very similar to what happens in the dream state. Yatha Swapne, that's what it says. In Swapna Maya, that Swapna Maya, Yatha Drishte Gandharva Garam Tatha, Yatha, Tatha Vishwamidam Drishtam Vedantesh Vichakshana. Once you are in touch with this Vedanta, Vichakshana, that means clarity, understanding about this, the moment it dissolves. So what remains with you is that experience. As I said, that the food and hunger put together, the experience that is there, is what is called as the satisfaction that we have. We have created, we have a compassion. The compassion is something which is there. Love that is there. experience of satisfaction there. This is what remains. All the other things dissolve. All the other things we need to, the faster that we dissolve that, the faster that we are established in our state of love, state of compassion, and state of supreme sense of satisfaction. Because these are the qualities of consciousness, or these are the qualities of self. So, what you are love, you are compassion, and you are also the blissful experience of fullness, completeness, satisfaction, celebration. That's what you are. So the moment that you are identified with that state, like the way that the swapna dissolves and also the world that you create in the swapna purusha is dissolved, swapna prapancha that you create dissolved. The same way that jagrata purusha, jagrata prapancha that you create completely dissolved. Dissolve for you because that you reach that state of supreme consciousness. Vedanteshu vichakshate. You have the vichakshana. So therefore, it is not a question. See, somebody who has that experience, uh, actually, we also have that experience here and there once in a while, but we don't know how to hold on to that. But some people that you see that they have got very clear experience of that, and they can hold on to that. That means they do not really have to do anything, give up or something like that. They run away from that, or they have to practice rituals or activity that is there. All these things are supposed to lead you to that, but these things are not important. It's like the way that when you write the handwriting in the beginning, of course, these days it is not there, but earlier Shastri used to give this example that you require a copybook where the lines are there and then you write within that lines, see that your alphabets are clear. The moment that you become adult, that all those lines are gone, it is outdated, you don't require it. Of course, I know a lot of grown-up people really do still require that line copybook, but anyway, we outgrow that. So all the practices that are given for us, sadhana techniques that are given, they are like the guidelines that are given for the writing, developing the handwriting. Once you develop the handwriting, you can come out of it. In fact, another way that Vedanta expresses it is like the way a person who is using the crutches to walk, once he is able to walk, the wound is healed and everything is fine, then he would give up the crutches. He doesn't hold on to that. They helped me for such a long time, 6 months I've been using that, made me to develop walking. So I should I not hold on to it? You don't have to hold on to it. So that's what the next sutra says, that for a person who is in that level, where he's identified himself with the consciousness, nanirodhaha. There is nothing that he need to do the nirodha. That means he need to give up anything. That's a utpattihi, something that he has to do. Napadhaha. There is no bondage. Nacha sadhakaha. There is no sadhana for him that he has to do it. Namumukshuhu. There is no question of mukti kanksha is not there. Namukshuhu navai muktaha ityesha parmarthataha. It is very similar to the way that we should take it, the way that in Bhagavad Gita, second chapter, Krishna gives us the Sthita Prajna Lakshanas, the qualities of Sthita Prajna. Adveshta Sarvabhutana Maitra Karniyavach. Like that, he has given various sutras in that Sthita Prajna Lakshana in second chapter of Bhagavad Gita. And Shankara, while commenting about that, he says that if Sthita Prajna has those qualities, that means somebody who's realized has all those qualities, and I am where what I am. In what way is it useful for me? I've got my bondage, I've got my suffering, these things, I get angry, I get upset, but Sthita Prajna doesn't get upset, doesn't become easily caught up in these things. He is happy all the time. In what way does it help me? For that, Shankara, why is Krishna discussing about that? Shankara gives an answer saying that whatever that are supposed to be the qualities of Sthita Prajna, for him they are natural. But for us, that we need to consciously imitate that. He doesn't get upset with the situation. You should also practice to see that how you don't get upset on similar situations. His ego is hurt. He doesn't feel the hurt of ego. He smiles and says, that's all right, okay. Whereas we get hurt so much, our ego bothers us so much. If we know that, if we are really sadhaka, then we try to follow that. He is not a sadhaka, he's a siddha. We are a sadhaka. We need to follow that. So, nanirodha nacha utpatti, nabadhupo nacha sadhaka. For a person who is realized, like Siddha Prajna, these qualities are there. Now, when you look at your own life, it's not saying that, look, he can do it, I cannot do it. That's not even the issue. The issue is that these states are there within you also. You touch these states once in a while. This is what Shastri always used to say, that if you closely watch yourself, that there are moments where you are touching that turiya, you are touching that silence. And at that point of time that you also take it easy. You also don't get worked up all those things. This freedom is there. That freedom of the let go, the freedom of leaving it alone, not getting caught up with those things. He is there within you also. Once in a while you do that. Like, for example, some problem is bothering you all the time, and really, you just go down and sit down in a park or a beach and say, bah, let's forget about everything. You're consciously leaving that. That means there is an opportunity for you to leave that and come. Nachabaddaha, you are not bound by that. So, and you don't have to do any sadhana for that. You just realize this particular idea, nanirodha, there is nothing that I need to do nirodha. Nacha utpatti. See, when this is something which is there, you can see that this is what is Jnana Yoga Shloka. In the Jnana Yoga, you really understand that you have that state within you, and somebody else can be in that state. You can also be in that state. I give a very simple, normal example that, those days in Bangalore airport, all these international flights were not there. USA, you have to go to Bombay and change the flight, Mumbai, and Mumbai airport that you take the flight changes. And those days, Lufthansa Airlines used to take pride, saying that once you are booked, we are a booked 100% passenger. So you book from Bangalore, then you go to Delhi, the Bombay, and then Bombay flight is there Lufthansa, your seat is checked, everything is clear. So I went all the way from Bangalore to Bombay, and in my flight there were a couple of others also who traveled. Then the moment that I went to Bombay, and I said, anyway, I'm in Bombay, why wait till the flight midnight it leaves? Before that itself, let me go and check in and then sleep in the airport. So I went to the check-in counter. There are a lot of people who are jumping at the check-in counter. There was a lot of commotion going on. There was another Lufthansa employee was there. I asked him that, you see, I have a ticket to go to USA. Say, where do I check in? He said, that's the same counter where everybody is shouting. Then I said, no, I have a valid ticket. I'm a okay passenger. That means you must have a counter where we can check in. He said, they're all okay passengers. They all have valid tickets. They have seats and all it. What? Yeah. So they're all fighting. You also fight. Why? When seat is allotted. Then he gave me the idea that those days it was like this. Now the rules might have changed. That Lufthansa is permitted to book 15%, something like that, extra seats. So that usually cancellations will be more than 15-20%. So therefore that others also get the seat. Therefore you can. Unfortunately today everybody came in. So therefore these persons do not have a place to sit. What about me? You're also in the same boat. Okay, that means even if I shout there, fight there and all that, I'm not going to get the seat. He said, no, because it's always full. What's alternative? I said, we will send you by tomorrow flight or any other day that you prefer. But tomorrow also when I come, it's fully booked. I said, no. We'll ensure that tomorrow you will travel because we will put you in the hotel and take you back to the aircraft so that you are in the aircraft. You're already checked in. So when he said like that, I looked around. All that I lose 24 hours going to USA. So I said, but then I will have to inform in USA about this. Wow, he was shocked. He said, wow, you don't fight with me? I said, no. What's the point in fighting? The same thing will happen. Immediately he took out the phone from his pocket and said, please call USA, fix that because he's in a hurry to see that one ticket at least. saved. So I did all that, and in 5 minutes, that my ticket was booked for next day and flight, and then I was given the boarding pass also. So that means the next day I'm definitely fine. And then he gave me the hotel details and all that. You go and check in there. Everything is over. Everything is over. Now you can go back to hotel because he doesn't want crowd to be there. I looked around. Somebody came from Bangalore. He was also shouting at that counter, jumping at the counter. I went to him. I tapped him. I said, you want to go to USA? Yes, yeah, my flight, all the same story he said. I said, please, I would like to talk to you. He said, what? See, they have an opportunity, all these things that they can give you. Either tomorrow or any other day that you can go. All that. And if you're real, meeting is, you can do the meeting online because these days facility is there. Online, you can do the meeting. Fix the next meeting, go after about 3 months. And that time you are 100% sure passenger, etc. I convinced him. He didn't have any answer. All that question that he has after all that, my saying, he said, are you from airlines? Look at that. I said, look, I'm not from airlines. I'm one of the passengers like you. I saw you. You're sitting a seat in front of me from Bangalore. So you are coming from Bangalore. I felt that, you should not suffer. You can do that. Wow, he said, what a nice idea that you have given me, very nice. And then he called, I told him that, he's also a passionate. Then that person said, oh, yes, sir, thank you very much. And then he said, which hotel would like to go? I said, wherever Raghuram is there, I would like to go to the same hotel because I want to be with him and discuss, talk to him, come back. See, you can easily do that. And we have done it. Not that I have done it, you have done so many times. So that means Nanirodha, Nachotpattihi, all these things were there within you. That means at that point of time, you are Brahman yourself, you are Atman yourself. So you are touching that Atman here and there once in a while to see that the things become easy, things become wonderful, the world becomes wonderful. Namamukshur namai mukti. It is not that mukti is something that you have to go somewhere else. You have to achieve somewhere within you that you are the mukti yourself. You are the satisfaction yourself. That sense of satisfaction, that's what basically to experience that the world is created. The world is not for no reason. It can give you continuously that sense of satisfaction. Ityesa paramarthataha. That's what is the paramarthataha. The whole study of Mandukya Upanishad helps us this way that all these three states we don't have to identify. We can free ourselves now. So all the problems connected with these three states also we don't have to identify. Like for example, dream state problem is there. You wake up, all the problem is all finished. You don't have to attach with that. Can't say that my dream like this and then how can I leave that dream behind? It's a dream that you leave behind. So the whole idea is that therefore it is the bhava, it is the feeling that because it is sense of satisfaction, sense of supreme feeling. Brahman himself is supreme satisfaction. Brahman himself is creation itself. Satchit Ananda. He's Ananda himself. Or we are the Ananda ourselves. We are the creation ourselves. Because Jivatma, Paramatma, they are not two separate things. That experiences what is called as bhava. So in order to have that experience, that world is created and the experiencer is created. Experienced are created for the sake of experience. Experience is something which is supreme most, and then experiencer and the experience, they are incidental. So essentially, it is for the sake of this bhava, this feeling. Bhavai rasadbhirevaya advayena cha kalpitaha. That means the self itself is consciousness. It's really, and advayena cha kalpitaha. So it is the advaya, that means dvaita not being there, is the one which has created this kalpita. But then again, that we got into the ignorance and think that what is created has become reality. That means to say the wakeful experiencer became reality for us. See, within you that you have these two aspects that is there. One is you and the other is a wakeful experiencer. You can identify with your, that is your Atman, your Brahman, or you can identify with the wakeful experiencer. And that wakeful experience is to see that you once again go back to that state of supreme satisfaction, which is supposed to be not the wakeful experiencer, but beyond that, you are the consciousness that you are the Jivatma. That is what is the idea. Bhavaira siddhire vayam advayena cha kalpita. Bhava apyadvayena iva tasmad vayata Shiva. The Shiva Mangala, the pure completeness, is there. Moment that you are in the state of Advaya. Ramakrishna Paramahansa used to give that beautiful example, saying that when the salt doll went to measure the depth of the ocean, it was going inside, and afterward, doll itself is not there because it's a salt doll merged into the ocean. You merge into that consciousness yourself. So the experience and experience, both these things are gone. Only the experience remains. Actually, that is what is the important thing, that in the dreamless sleep state, only experiencer is there. You see, that's what is our in the dreamless sleep. Are you experiencing? You can't say that in the dreamless sleep, yeah, I'm seeing a nice, wonderful sleep without any dreams, or I'm not tasting. Nothing like that, because it doesn't belong to any senses, or it doesn't belong to any experiencer. So only experience remains there. So therefore, that's what is our experience. Our experience is that we become one with the experience itself. And that's, we have that experience. Every deep dreamless sleep gives us that experience. And every time in the wakeful state also, many times we touch that dreamless sleep experience. Even in the dream also, that takes you to that state. Any of these three states can take you to that fourth state. In fact, that is another very important aspect of it, that somebody, many times what happens is that we touch that state while doing an activity or while sleeping also. We touch that state where there is, you are neither the dream nor nothing, you are wakeful, nothing is there. You are in the Turiya Sthiti. But then when we wake up, and that Turiya Sthiti is a state where everything is dissolved, including the time and space are dissolved. That's the reason why space, you may be dreaming in Bangalore, but you are always in Pune. Or you may be in Pune, but you are dreaming in Bangalore. See, the space is not a matter at all. Next moment it changes. And time also doesn't matter. Something that happened years ago, it happened, comes again. But what happens is that when we wake up, we come to the wakeful world, and then wakeful time and space and all that. And until that time that you come to the wakeful state time, which is basically the memory, until your memory is settled down, you are in a confused state. Many times it happens like that when I'm traveling all of international travel. I get up somewhere in the morning and then started thinking. First thing is, before even open my eyes, where am I? Am I in Japan or am I in China? So I'm just thinking like that. And class alidine, I'll call you back again. So therefore, what happens is that suddenly then after a little while, everything settled down. Oh, I'm someplace like this. That is immediately it comes to. Now, in this time, if you have come up into a different time zone, different time period, then you have an experience of that time period. We have that, and then come back to the real time. Then what happens is that we have that glimpse of it, but then we have the real time. So later on, when the time going towards that, suddenly you start feeling that, oh, this experience I had. I know that these are the people going to be there. This is the dialogue that's going to happen, because you have that experience of that. So therefore, what happens is that this is what we call it as deja vu experience. Many times what happens is, many problems that were there, they get solved suddenly, because you have come to that time where the problem is occurred, the things are clear in front of you. But then you are in the real time today. When you are in the real time, all other things become less important. You don't have any attachment with that. That's what Vedanta, this is what he says, that one who is tasmad advait, you see, bhava api advaye naiva, when you are established in the advaya, tasmad dvaya, that's what is the Shiva Mangala, the beautiful time, that there is no attachment to that. Natma bhavena, na, na edam, na svenapi kathanchana, na pruthak, kinchidapi, tattavido viduhu. One who sees that up, established himself in that state where Atma Bhavena, it's me, mine, and Anatma Bhava, this is me and this is not mine. Mine and not mine is just, you see, that it's only basically for the transaction purposes that we have created. It's only for the transaction, not beyond that. So that we don't carry that beyond transaction purposes. Natma Bhava, at a state where that Atma Bhava is not. Na idam, it's not mine, that is the kind of thing. Nasvenapi kathanchana. It's all right. Then there is no question of nothing which is really bothering you. Na pruthak, na apruthak. Separateness is not there, separateness is also there. All this, nakinchitapi, tattvavido vido. Such a person is a person who knows the reality. That's what is the Advaita Sthiti. See, therefore, let's understand this aspect of it. What, in my view, that what Gaudapada says is that you are in the Dvaita Sthiti because the transaction is necessary, everybody is there. But then there is a portion that is called as Advaita Sthiti that you are touching it. It is an experience. And it's also primarily that's what is reality. Primary reality is that there is one source from which the whole creation has taken place. That source we call it as consciousness. The source we call it as Brahman or Atman, Jivatma. All that what we call it as are you. You are that. So that's what is the basic reality. But as a person in the transaction level, that basic reality is not with us. And since that we don't feel that I'm that. Yes, you don't have to, you should not feel it also, because you have to feel the world, relate with the world, and the way that we respect with the world, with bhava that you have to respect with this world and interact with this world. That's necessary. But at the same time, at the background, that you know that there is nothing like duality at all. So therefore, there are two things which I always hold on to that. Advaita Sthiti is what is in the reality, that means a creation from aspect of it. Another thing is Advaita Sthiti, we come into that experience. We come to that experience of Advaita Sthiti. For me, what is more important thing is that we go to that Advaita Sthiti experience whenever it is necessary and come out of it into Dvaita Sthiti whenever it is necessary. It is not to condemn the Dvaita, respect the Dvaita. Respect the Visishtadvaita, that means just under certain conditions. So, Dvaita, Advaita, Visishtadvaita are the creation aspect of it. They have not rejected it. It has its own way. But the moment that you come to the creation aspect of it, that means Dvaita aspect of it, then this Dvaita Prapancha has so many ways that it can be expressed and understood. That's why all these Shastras are there. Sankhya way of looking at it, Vaisheshika way of looking at it, Nyaya way of looking at it. Like this, there are several theories. Earlier we have seen that there are something like about 30, 35 different ways of the world has been explained. All those things are wonderful. All those things are valid for their purposes. Just like the way that Anna, Annada is connected, like the way that various theories are connected for their purpose. Somebody looking at the world from the Sankhya point of view, he looks at this world Sankhya and he uses his world Sankhya philosophy behind it. But finally, what is the way that ultimate idea about it? Is this Sankhya will take him to Advayasthiti. That means that Dvaita not being there, experience he brings into that. So if it brings that way, in a very crude way, if you have to say that hunger is there, food is something that is really giving you satisfaction. And it definitely gives you satisfaction, the kind of food. But then if you go beyond that satisfaction, that means you get attached to the food. then you are miserable. You are not in the satisfaction. That's what is the way that you take the world in such a way that you get into the satisfaction. What theory, what philosophy that is there, doesn't matter. Whether it is Sankhya helps you, Vaisheshika helps you, Mimamsa helps you, Gita helps you, or anything that is there, it doesn't matter to you. Ultimately, the idea is that do you find that supreme satisfaction within yourself? That's the idea. So the next sutra, 35 sutra. Now he comes to look at that sutra, which is very similar to whatever in Bhagavad Gita Krishna said. Or in other words, that this sutra is what Krishna in Bhagavad Gita says, Vitaraga Bhayakrodaihi. That means once you see that you are in that state, that's only for the sake of transaction that we created this. I do the transaction, but my transaction is free from raga, attachment, free from fear, bhaya, and then free from krodha. Now, this bhaya, krodha, and raga, all these three things are essentially to concretize the separation of you. It is mine. The possession comes because that I create a bound around that. Similarly, bhaya, that means what will happen to this if I lose it? Krodha, that when somebody interferes with that, I get angry with that. So all these things are the things that you have separated out. You possession comes into the picture. The moment that possession comes into the picture, that you are separating out. I have it, but for the purpose of doing some activity, but it's not something which is exclusive possession of that. For the world's sake, for the material sake, I have all these things, but really that I don't have the feeling inside me. Vitaraga bhaya krodaha munihi vedaparagai. Here the person who has understood the reality. Vedaparagaihi, that means to say, one who established, this is what in Taittiriya Upanishad, he says that Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam. Shrotriya means he understands the Shruti, that means text that is there. Brahmanishtam, not only understand by words, but he is established himself. He has experience of that. One might say that, don't get angry and all that, but is he established in anger? Or is he out of anger? I told you how many times, don't be angry. But you are also angry, no? So that, why don't you come out of it? So it should be Veda Paragaihi. He says that uh, Munihi, that means to say he has free from that. Munibhihi, Veda Paragaihi. See, the beautiful thing. Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam. That means he is he is Muni, Mauna, he is established in that state. Veda Paragaihi, based on the Shastras. Why he used these two words are, there are some people by nature that they may be peaceful, quiet, and all that. But if you don't have the knowledge of the spirituality behind it, or it is born out of spirituality, then from that position that they can easily slip out of it by the influence of the world outside. See, we are losing, we are this, that, therefore we should lose it. So therefore that they lose it. But somebody who only knows about from the spiritual point, from the scriptural point of view, but experientially he doesn't have that, then such a person can only give us the ideas, but he cannot give us that experience behind it. What happens is this, all this Vedantic knowledge, philosophical knowledge is something which is born out of experience. Shastra is there, but experience is there. I am speaking of Advaita, but at the same time, I have so much of condemnation about Dvaita, I have condemnation about Visishtadvaita, the other part. Then where is the question of Advaita? I have to experience within me. In fact, the other day I heard a question. Somebody asked a question, and then one very great philosopher giving an answer for that. I was aghast. I felt very sad. He said that, yeah, we don't condemn the Dvaita, we don't condemn all those things. We are necessary. In fact, we have to pass through the Dvaita in the beginning so that you have to come to Advaita. And later on, he said that, like the way that somebody who passed, who at a primary school, Primary school is important so that he can go to the high school. It's important so that he can go to the university. So it is like that. Dvaita Siddhanta is like primary school. Ishtadvaita is like high secondary. Whereas Advaita is the uh, university education. I said, you condemned it completely. You have not accepted. We accept it. Like the way that in the university, we still accept, the education that's given in the primary school. Wow. So you want to put it's like the way that, in those days when the black and white division is there at that time, in American school bus, what is this fight going on between the black and white and all that? And then that lady who was supposed to be, says that there are no more blacks and whites and everything. Everything is nothing but blue. Okay, agree? So there's no black and white, everything is blue. Okay. First you vote all the white, light blue color go inside, then the dark blue color go inside. Again, that you create differences. You're still stuck with the difference. No. Dvaita is as beautiful as Advaita because Advaita philosophically has one consciously, willingly gave rise to this Dvaita so that interaction takes place. It has all its laws. See, Dvaita is created along with all its laws. The laws are also equally important as much as the Dvaita is important. Like water has to have its water's laws. Electricity has its electrical laws. So all these things are very important. Men are women, men are men, women are women. They're all important. So therefore, this way, Dvaita, you respect it as much as the Advaita respect it. That's what is the idea. Advayam वीतराग भयक्रोधः मुनिः भावै aparagaihi. That's a beautiful word. Nirvikalpaha. There is no vikalpa. That means you are wonderful, you are as it is. There is no vikalpa necessary. And alpaka nirvikalpaha aham drishtaha papanchopasham advayaha. In the state of advaya, when you're in the state of beyond that, in Advaita Sthiti, when you're experiencing, in Advaita Sthiti, I would put it this way, Ananyata. That's a very important one. Advaita Sthiti is from the philosophical point of view, but from the experiential point of view, we have that Advaya experiences as Ananyata. That means there's no other at mind. It's one and the same thing. When you have that Ananyata, Advaya Sthiti, that means Prapancha Upashamaha. All these differences, prapancha, is that prakashena panchaha. All these five senses, their experiences, they become separate. But even that becomes upashamaha. They are not important. And they're useful for the purpose of transaction. But beyond that, they have no reality. That's what is the idea. Pancha upashamaha. Tasmat evam viditvainam advayam yojayet smriti advaita samanuprapya Jadavallopamacharayet. So he says that tas Advaitam Samupasya some anuprapya. It is very difficult for us to be in the state of Advaita all the time. Yeah, Samuprapya, being in the state, only person who is there in the cave all by himself, maybe in the Samadhi sthiti, you may be in the Advaita sthiti. But otherwise, we are here to transact. We are here to interact. Father is a father, son is a son, mother is a mother, daughter is daughter. So husband is husband, wife is husband. So we have transaction here. So therefore, then basically that as long as that we are in the mode of transaction, we have to respect this Dvaita sthiti, transaction sthiti. Advaita samanuprapya jadavallopa acharayet. Such a person who doesn't have that jadavat, that means absolutely there is no activity at all, is still quiet. Yes, we are still quiet when we are in the dreamless sleep state. the state where there is nothing is happening, you are quiet, and you touch that state. And our Shastri, and whether you become that or not, it doesn't disturb your peaceful state. You are in the transacting, it doesn't have to disturb your peaceful state, nor the Brahman is disturbed by that. In fact, Shastriji used to give a model saying that how the Brahman has become the individual jiva is, it does not disturb the Brahman. There is a huge ball of Brahman is there, that means imagine, and a small little drop of it, one little extension, becomes a jiva. And there also there are three different aspects of it: wakeful, dream, or deep sleep state. So it's like so tiny thing. It's so tiny that it does not disturb the whole thing. So each one of us, we are so tiny that is there. In fact, this creation itself is so vast, so extraordinary. But even this creation, which is so extraordinary, is a tiny bubble in front of the whole Brahman that is there in the creation. Why we say that is because this tiny creation is happening continuously for zillions of years. So that means it must be so much that it can create so much. It doesn't get exhausted. So therefore, you are part of that Brahman, like the way the small little droplet is also part of the ocean. But then that does not disturb the ocean by itself. And you are part of the ocean, that you realize that you are that. And that experience is the one that you have here and there, now and then, and touch that. That it may be however small that it is, but it is very valuable, it's very important. That's why Avum, after that silence, it does not have any dimension, but in spite of it, it has that importance. It's an extraordinary thing. Try to live in that silence. So once you are in that state, at that state, there is no question of even the most precious things, like the way that you have respect, regard, all those things will simply dissolve, that you don't have to expect for that. Nistutihi nirnamaskaraha nisva dhakara yevacha chalachala niketascha yadidrishcha yadruchiko bhavet. Things happen the way yadruchikaha, that means the way that it just happens, just like that. The whole creation has happened. That's why earlier also there is one of the sutras which says that the creation happens. One of the models that somebody has given this creation is like a lila. Lila means basically that it's a play. The play does not have any particular rigidity or anything. It just to spend time, to just wave time, be together. That's why we create a play. I always give that example that there are a bunch of people who are there. They want to spend that evening, and then they created a play. Look, let's play football. One ball is given, and then they say that this is your party, this is my party. It's all temporary. And then you don't give ball to this fellow, you don't give ball to that fellow, pass it up. All that you do it. Judge Bernard Shaw said, what is this? Give each one a ball. That solves all the problem. But the fun is not there. Fun is there only because that we do that. We have to have a fun. But at the same time, you see that fun is important. All other things are secondary. They're not important. So Yadruchikaha is that. We play, but at the same time, the all other things are very unimportant like this. Tattvam adhyatikam drishtva, tattvam drishtva tu bhakyata, tattva abhibhutasa, tada tadarama, tattva aprachute bhavet. Tattva is the reality. So, tattvam adhyatmikam drishtva. The reality, when we look at from the adhyatmika point of view, drishtva, tattve drishtam tu bhakyataha. There are two ways of looking at this reality. One is the way that you look at the reality from the outside, bhakyataha. And the other thing is that adhyatmikatha. Adhyatmika is from yourself that you see that. From your deep inner perception being, that when you see the tattva. Two ways of looking at this tattva. Tattvat bhutaha tadaramaha. So in this world, aramaha, that means you be at rest whether it is outside or inside, tatvat apratyuche bhavet. So, apratyutaha, that means that basically uh, there is nothing which is deviating, nothing is disturbing, nothing unnecessary that's happening, as long as that you recognize the tattva that you are dealing with the world outside. This is what Mankuchimmanatkaga said beautifully, that whenever you do an activity, that outside kona, he says that, outside cell called as horakona, valakona is in the inner cell. Is that you sit in the inner cell and then let the activity go on in the outer cell. And that's what is the Vedanta also says that way. Karmakanda is where it's the outer shell. You do the Karmakanda. Karmakanda has the rules, Karmakanda has regulations, Karmakanda has the opportunities, all those things are there. You do that, Karmakanda. But then you sit yourself in the Jnana way, Adhyatma way. That's what is called as the Adhyatmikam Drishtva. Be in the state of Adhyatmika. In fact, Krishna also in Bhagavad Gita gives a very beautiful expression. Arjuna asked a question to Krishna, Adibhutam chakim proktam, Adidaivam kimuchate. What is Adidaiva? What is Adibhuta? And Adhyagnyam katam kotra. Um, and then he says, Adibhavam, and what is called as Adhyatma. For that, Krishna answers so beautifully. When I read first time that answer, I was really thrilled. Krishna said, Swabhavaha Adhyatma uchate. That means your own bhava, your own being is Adhyatma. You may be a Hitler, you may be a Kamsa, you may be somebody else, but bhava inside, that is Swabhava, is supposed to be Adhyatma. And what a beautiful statement this is. Our Swabhava is Adhyatma. So Swabhava Adhyatma Uchate. So Tattva Adhyatmikam Drishtva. And that is what is my Swabhava. But Tattvam Drishtva cha Bhakyataha. Outside world, that I look at that Tattva, the way that it is required in the outside world. Outside world, I'm a particular employee, I'm a particular employer. Or I may be father, I may be mother, I may be somebody. Adhyatmikam Drishtva is one thing, and Tattvam Bhakyataha is another. Tatti Bhutastata Ramaha. Both the ways that you recognize that what is your, at that point of time, what is the reality that you are interacting with, be in that reality, Tattvad Aprachyute Bhavet. It becomes unimportant what it is. Ramakrishna Paramahansa is to give an example of a saint said to the Paramananda Sishyas. He says that, we are all Brahman, a cow is Brahman, this, everything is Brahman, like that. And then all the Sishyas were coming together. At that point of time, that there was a rogue elephant which became violent, and the Mahout was there sitting on top of it, and then that violent elephant was coming charging at the people. All the other people ran away, but one Shishya said, no, just now we have heard that our Guru saying that everything is Brahman, even the elephant is Brahman. So therefore, why run away from that? He stood there. The elephant immediately picked him up from the trunk and then threw him out. Bones are broken. He was brought back to the Guru. And said, Guruji, you only said that even the elephant is also Brahman. And so, but then what happened? He said, but then Mahout is also a Brahman. But he was saying, run away. Why did not run away? So, when you take the world as Brahman, fine. But at the same time, with that caution, what the world is all about. So this is what is the second chapter. That is that this first chapter we have given completely about the whole Omkara and all the three personal experiences that we have. And second chapter gives us the idea that in these experiences that you have, you see that there is Brahmasthiti, Atmasthiti, Advaya Sthiti is there. And that you are touching that. And the world is there, Advaya Sthiti is also there for you. You're interacting. So therefore, respect each one of them the way that they belong to, and then transaction for that. This is what is basically the idea of the second chapter, which is Advaita Prakarana. And then the third Prakarana is that Alata Shanti Prakarana. We'll go to the third chapter, and what is that he has to offer. But please, very important thing I would like to say is that if we understand this properly, it is not to condemn the other philosophies, other ideas that are there, not to condemn. Because a lot of people give this Mandukya Upanishad or Shankaracharya, there's Advaita Sthapana, therefore Dvaita Khandana and all that. I don't believe in that way when I read this. For me, both of them are extraordinary, wonderful scriptures. Because before I came here, or yesterday, I was reading the same Mandukya Upanishad commentary from Visishtadvaita perspective. One Panduranga has written. I was reading that, and I'm satisfied that this is something which we should look at in that way. Let's look into that. Om Tat Sat. Stop it here. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.